If you have an older garage door opener and the remotes have stopped working, or you can no longer get the remotes because they're not manufactured anymore, then you might want to consider installing a new radio receiver and remote to your garage door opener so you can get a few more years out of it. In this video, we're going to take a look at the linear MegaCode radio receiver and remotes, show you how to install it to your operator and how to program it. Let's get to it. Many of the operators made in the 1970s, 80s, and into the mid-90s had radio receivers that were externally mounted on the outside of the garage door opener, where the newer openers have the radio receivers inside the opener on the logic board. So some of these older operators where the receivers were mounted on the outside have been discontinued, and you can't get the parts for them anymore or the remotes. So you want to take and get a new radio receiver and remote so you can get a couple more years out of your operator, and you don't have to put out hundreds of dollars for a whole new garage door opener just because the radio receiver is no longer working. So let's take a look at the radio receiver that we're going to be showing you and installing. It comes in a box like this. So when you open your box, inside you will find the linear MegaCode radio receiver. This is the antenna of the receiver, and if you turn it on the back, you'll see it has a plug for an outlet. So this gets plugged in the same outlet where your operator is plugged into, but if you didn't have space for it up there, or if it was only one outlet that was working, then you could also plug this into a wall outlet, and you would just need a longer wire to connect it to your operator. And on the back here, you'll see these two screws. This is where the two wires from the radio receiver will get connected from here to the operator, which we'll show you how to do in a minute. And then on the side, you'll see a small button, and that right next to it says Learn, and that's how you're going to program the remotes and keyless entry if you get one. And there's a small LED light next to it showing you, indicating when it is programmed or not. So when you order the radio receiver from us at Garage Door Zone, we are also going to include some 2-strand wire. We'll include 8 feet of it, which should be plenty to go from the outlet to your operator. But if you need more, you can order more. And one end gets connected to the radio receiver, and the other end is going to be connected to your operator. Now in the drop-down menu, when you're ordering something, you also have options for your remotes. You can get a single button remote like this, which can be programmed to one radio receiver. But you also have the option to get a 3-button remote like this. So if you had a 2-car garage and you wanted to replace the receivers on both the operators, then you can put the MegaCode receiver on both openers and then get the 3-button remote and then program each button to a different operator, so you could control both operators with one remote. And the third option that you can get is a keyless entry that would be mounted on the jamb on the outside of your garage, and it can also be programmed to the MegaCode radio receiver, and we'll show you how to do that too, just in case you want to get one of these. So the first thing we'd like to do is to program any remotes you got or keypads before we do any wiring. It just makes it a little bit easier so we don't have to do the programming up on a ladder. So you just take the radio receiver and plug it into any of your household outlets in the kitchen, wherever. And then once you have it plugged in, you'll take your remote, in this case the 1-button remote, you'll press the Learn button on the side of the radio receiver. This light will come on here. Then you'll press and hold your remote button. That light flashes, and then it'll go out once it's programmed. And to test to see if it's programmed, just press your remote button and it'll make a clicking noise. And that indicates that the radio receiver has been programmed with this remote. Now you can also do this with your keyless entry if you get one. You just take your keyless entry. Again, we're going to just take and we'll press and release that Learn button on there. Then we'll take and we'll press in our numbers. In this case, I'll do 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we hit the up and down arrows on there. Hold that. The light on here will go out. Then we can test it. We'll hit 1, 2, 3, 4, and it makes the clicking noise, which means we've programmed our keypad to the radio receiver. We'll do that for every remote that we got. So if you got 2 or 3 remotes, just go through that step for each one until they're all programmed. Once it's programmed, then you can just remove it from the outlet, and we'll go in to show you how to wire the radio receiver to your operator. So the first thing you want to do is get a screwdriver and loosen the 2 screws on the back of the radio receiver, and then take the one end of the wire and wrap it around each screw and then tighten it down, and so you'll have it connected like that. So the next thing we want to do is unplug your operator, because anytime you're working on your operator, it's just best to unplug it just so it doesn't start running while you're back there working on it. Once you do that, then we're going to take the other end of the 2 wires that were connected to the radio receiver, and we're going to connect them to the back of the operator. Now if you have an existing older radio receiver mounted on the back of their operator, you can remove that now. Normally you just need to loosen a couple of screws. Like if you look on the back of this older opener here, you'll see that there's 2 wires already connected to it. Now these 2 wires go to the wall push button that looks like this, and that is the same 2 screws that you're going to use to connect your radio receiver. So just follow the 2 wires from your wall button to the back of your operator, and once you find out which 2 points that it is connected to, that is also where you're going to connect the ends for your radio receiver. So you'll take your radio receiver that you have wired, you got the 2 ends there. On this case, for this operator, it's screw terminals 1 and 2, and so I would take the ends of the radio receiver wire and connect them to terminals 1 and 2. Now make sure you don't take off the ones that are already on there, because that controls your push button. You're going to want to leave those on there. We're just adding these in addition to those 2 wires in there. Now once you have those 2 wires from your radio receiver connected to the back of your operator, we're pretty much good to go. All we need to do now is take the receiver and plug it into the outlet in the ceiling, and you'll see there's a big screw in the top of this receiver here. You want to loosen that screw, take the screw out of the plate that's on your electrical outlet and replace it with this. So when you put the receiver into the outlet, put this screw in through the center of your outlet, it'll hold it to the ceiling and you won't have to worry about it rattling or falling out at any time. Once you have this plugged in, plug in your operator again, and so make sure you have power everywhere. Your opener should now be powered up, your radio receiver should now be powered up, and we can test it out. So take your remote that you have programmed to the radio receiver and give it a test by pressing the button. Once you do that, your operator should open the garage door. Once it's fully open, if you've also got a keyless entry, we'll test that one out too. Just put in your 4-digit code, hit the up down button, and it should close your garage door. If neither of them open or close your garage door, then make sure you go back and check your wiring, make sure that none of the wires have come off your radio receiver or off the operator. If one of them works and one doesn't, then you might need to program one of them again, just following the steps that we showed you earlier. And that's all there is to installing the linear MegaCode radio receiver and remotes to your older garage door opener. We hope you found this helpful, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. It helps us out. If you have any questions, you can email us at youtube@garageDoorZone.com. All the products I've shown you here today, the radio receiver, the remotes, and the keypad, I put links to all of those in the descriptions below. We appreciate you watching, and we'll see you on the next one.